Okay, and I think we're live. Hey guys, I was gonna continue the call I had earlier on my channel, but I actually wanted to take a break from that. I'm not sure if I can go back to it or not, but what I'll do, I'll leave a link in that video if you want to go and watch the rest of or listen to the rest of that call. Um, but I'm sure, as some of you are aware, we have some new content coming down the line, or at least new to me, content coming down the line that I wanted to talk about today. I think this is courtesy of Wine Lover and Reborn. So I wanted to go through this actually because this is really, really interesting. I'll probably get back to doing calls another time. I know it's been a while since I last uploaded or last streamed. I just streamed these and just I hope people will catch the recording, or maybe it's just for me for prosperity, yeah, whatever it is, so I can look back on them and kind of see. It's just kind of these kind of videos or these kind of streams is just something I wanted to do where I listen to calls and I read the documents and I kind of think things to myself, but I don't really. I would like to kind of, vocalize what I'm thinking and kind of my analysis of these. So I hope this is interesting to you as it is to me. Anyway, starting off with this. So we had this call, and I'm just doing this one document here. And I think Kelpil did a video about it as well with I think Joey as well. So I'm going to jump on that bandwagon and kind of have a look at these. Yeah, so this one is very, very illuminating. This might be the most important one that I've seen personally. I think that we've got so far, because this shows that with the morality, that there's the whole, catfishing versus non-catfishing side. There's a kind of, I mean, it's not mean, it's not overly aggressive, but some people agree with it, some people don't. I see where both sides are coming from. Me personally, I mean, is catfishing good? Not really. When it's Lorne, I don't really care, and it's fun. It's fun. So I think if it makes the world a little bit a better place, giving us something to enjoy, I say why not. So, taking a look at what we have here, this is I think it's a letter. I'm not sure who it's to. Let me just take a look here. I'm not sure who it's to, or I know it's from his probation officer. And this is 2015. So as far as I'm aware, this is pre any contact, any catfishing or anything. So this is Lorne before, the community got in contact with him and the catfishing kind of continued. And I was listening to Andrew Burkett's stream. I sometimes go back and listen to his streams because I think they're really interesting. And they're a bit more analytical than most streams I find. I mean, I enjoy listening to the calls on people's streams. I enjoy kind of people's input and, making kind of funny, and everyone's just kind of hanging out in the chat. But what I like about Andrew's streams and is that he kind of goes a bit deeper and kind of looks behind who like kind of looks into who Lorne is as a person, and kind of, it's kind of funny when he says Mr. Penis, and what's she thinking about when she's thinking, or you go into the lawn vortex. But Andrew Burkett seems to get to the heart of the issue without playing calls and everything. Anyway, I just find his streams very interesting with Shin and Tiffany Lockhart and Amanda James. But he mentioned something and I forget which live stream it was, but he mentioned something about Lorne's reaction to things, and he said that his reaction to some things are kind of manufactured. Well, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but from what I understood, he was kind of trying to say that Lorne's reactions are overreactions, because through the catfishers are getting him into situations that are kind of extreme to provoke a response from him. That's what I understood that he said. If I got that wrong, please let me know. But that's kind of what I understood he meant by that. But I think we have evidence here, and who knows how far this goes back in his other quote-unquote relationships. When I say relationships, I mean interactions with another person, not an actual relationship, because let's be honest, he's never had an actual relationship in his life, thank goodness. But this is illuminating because it shows you, at least now, this has to be the tip of the iceberg, because this is what probation has caught wind of. So there must be a whole lot more under the surface here. but you can see in the way he interacts with this woman, Nikki, which you might have heard about in if you listen to some of the calls. Nikki was this girl who apparently he gave thousands of dollars to, and she got a restraining order against him. And sometimes you hear him cursing her name if you hear him talking to the catfish. So this is that Nikki, and this is from his PO probation Mitchell. So you hear him talk about Mitchell as well. So this is illuminating. So I'm just gonna start reading here and just going through and just kind of giving my thoughts here. So at the start here, so there's a bit of a jargon here, who it is, probation, Mitchell, the date as well. So this is the American dates. This is the September the 15th, 2015. I think that's right. Americans, please fix your dating structure. Either flip the whole thing the other way or, do something with this. It doesn't work. Anyway, so senior USPO, so I guess that's the US probation officer, Oswald, and USPO Maloney made contact with Lorne at home at approximately 9 p.m. So it's a late, I think they do like spot checks. I believe if you're on probation, they can give you spot checks. They can just turn up at your house at any time. And just make sure you're not violating probation or make sure you're okay or whatever it is. Here you go. Lorne was drinking a beer. Claimed to have had 4, but officers observed 8 empties on the countertop. Home inspection completed, no evidence violation noted. So this is before his amendment to his probation, which you might have heard that story where he was turning up to he was turning up to his classes drunk. He turned up to his class drunk, and I believe he blamed that incident on Nikki. He said something happened with Nikki, and then he was drinking afterwards, and then he went to class, and they smelled alcohol on him, and then his probation terms were changed to include no alcohol consumption whatsoever. So that is what I understand from it. Again, I'm relatively new to lornography and that all kind of going through the calls and all the documentation. So I might have that wrong. Please let me know if I have that wrong, but that is my understanding of it. So this is before that amendment. So he's not violating probation here. So if you look at this and go, oh, why didn't they lock him up for that? It wasn't at that point in 2015. It was not a violation of his probation to drink. I believe it always was he couldn't drink to excess, or it was like he couldn't drink. He had to kind of control drinking, which we know Lorne can't do. But that was, I think, the original. So in the beginning, he could drink. He was allowed to drink, and I know people. He's drunk, he drives, and I understand that. But if I was in Lorne's situation and my life was as kind of screwed up and messed up as he was, I don't blame him for drinking. Like, I honestly don't. I don't blame him for drinking away just to forget every day. I kind of wish he would face his demons before he dove to the bottom of a bottle to kind of forget his woes. But I wish he would address it at some point. But I mean, look at his life. I mean, probation for life, RSO for life. Spent 5 years in jail. He's a failed child predator. We know that he's had real victims according to him, but what we don't know if there's any real victims. But anyway, my point is that if there was a Freaky Friday situation and I was woke up in Lorne's body, God forbid, I'll probably drink my life away too. I'm not gonna hold that against him. I do hold it against him when it's against the law for him to drink. I do hold it against him when he drinks and get into his car and endangers other people. But to be honest, if he wants to sit at home and drink his life away, I'm not gonna blame him really. But that's by the by. Let's carry on. So just as far as we know, at the point of this letter, there was no violation noted because he could drink. So they then go on to examined Lorne's cell phone, discovered 38 phone calls made to an entry titled Mum N. This is Lorne's his spy training, his is an anti-detection training coming in. My PN. You got to put in my PN. When he was talking to Caleb. You've got to do PM. We can't say it on here. We can't say it. If we go to MySpace, we break up here, and then we go onto MySpace, and then if we talk on MySpace, we pretend we break up, and then we can talk on MySpace because the Yahoo police aren't there. This is Lorne's this is him on the download. This is him trying to be slick. Okay, this is Mum N in his address book. Why? These 38 calls occurred between 2:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. on this day. So this is 38 calls within what is that? 7.5 hours? 6.5 hours? 6.5 hours. That is crazy. 6.5 hours, 38 calls. You would have to be calling, hanging up, and calling every 10 minutes? That's insane. And again, we know this is a pattern of behavior. Again, it is one thing to kind of see this without context, but we know he has a pattern of behavior with his catfish. He'll call them again and again and again. Okay, 6. I'm responding. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm reading ahead. But he'll call them again and again and again, leaving nasty voicemails, sending nasty texts, and it looks like he has always been this way. At least he was before anyone was in contact with him. So when people say, we're kind of provoking a response from him by telling him all these kind of crazy things, even in a real life, Lorne in the Wild, as Tiffany Lockhart likes to say, situation, he is exactly the same. So these 38 calls between 2:30 on this day, multiple unanswered text messages, also discovered approximately 6 unresponded. Okay, so the text messages was what unresponded to. So again, if you've seen the dump, the text messages in the dump, it's just the nastiest, most vile things he said, for someone just simply not picking up the phone or not calling him when they said they would. Maybe they were doing something else, or saying that they're doing something else instead of calling him, and it flies into a rage. If you ever hear it's a Tiffany call Tiffany as Debbie, where she's talking about when you want to date every guy out there, blah blah blah. You didn't call me, and it's all the same thing. It's exhausting, but it's how he's been, and who knows how much further back this behavior goes. I know he talks about this Paula person. Could it have gone back to there, which is why that situation went the way it did? I would say yes. I mean, this is kind of it's undeniable, really, that this is kind of how he is and how he has always been. Here we go. At least one of these text messages was accusatory in nature. Oh, say it ain't. Accusatory in nature. Lorne? Accusing people? No, never. That's not the Lorne I know. That's not the Lorne I know. In nature, stating something to the effect of, I know you have your ringer off, so whoever you are with doesn't hear it. Many of the texts contain profanity. So think about all the calls with Winnie, everything with her, with Ramona. Oh my God, the doctor's there, isn't he? Oh no, I'm by myself, Lorne. Oh, you're keeping quiet so he doesn't hear you. It's exhausting, and it's the same thing. I can't believe he thinks this still works. He's got a batting average of 0, nothing, zilch. Like he's 0 for infinity at this point, and it's just he keeps trying the same thing. And what's the definition of insanity again? I'm sure I'm pretty sure I said that in my last one, but I will remember it at some point. I'm sure I will remember it at some point. Anyway, Law reported that Mum N was Nikki. The same woman he had previously been involved with and who subsequently filed a harassment complaint against him. Not surprising. So Nikki was someone he actually had a face-to-face contact with, and that he claims he gave her money. She had lost custody of her kids, and all that kind of thing. But she sounds like she wasn't in the best place, and Lorne, being who he is, he tends to go for the weakest and most vulnerable in society. So whether it's kids or someone who's not quite got their life together, someone who's in a vulnerable position, this right up the alley of Lorne, apparently. So apparently she was on drugs as well. Again, this is all second or third hand information. This is I'm hearing from other streams I've listened to. So if I get anything wrong, please let me know. But yes, this is kind of what we have here. So same woman who blah, blah, blah. Okay, a further review of other text messages revealed that there has been what appears to be a consensual got sex on the brain, I must be channeling Lorne a bit, to be consensual communication between the two. So it's not just harassment. It seems that they were in communication, and at some point it got a bit out of hand, and Nikki However, she has decided to file a harassment complaint. I don't know if it got to the extent of a restraining order. I've heard in some places it was, some places it wasn't. So as far as we know, there's a harassment complaint, and it looks like probation were aware of that. So they know about this kind of behavior, and yeah, it looks like he's got a pattern of behavior here. So, however, the number of texts that Lorne sent vastly outnumbered the number received in both quantity and content, of course, because you know what happens when you don't pick up Lorne's calls. You know what happens if you forget to call him. You know what happens if you didn't call him right back when he hangs up because he's angry with you. He will send you text messages, voicemails, angry, just petulance. It's petulance. It's childlike. It is, and again, not in an innocent way. Oh, that's very child. No, it's puerile. It's really sad to see. It's really sad to see. But if it wasn't like that, we wouldn't have all this content. So hey, I say, hey, keep it up, Lorne. As long as you're not hurting actual people, if you want to scream into the phone and taking years off your life from stress and anger, be my guest. Here we go. Lorne reported that he and Nikki are now dating, but had not yet kissed or become sexual. Now, had not kissed or become sexual. And let me guess, she didn't know that they were dating either, because any female that gives Lorne any level of attention, it's going to become dating. We're dating. This happened with Paula. Oh, they're dating. But apparently they weren't, or she didn't know that they were dating. It happened with Ramona as well, I believe. There was no real reciprocal kind of, oh, let's date, Lorne. It's kind of he assumed, and I think Ramona just didn't kind of counteract it. We heard it with Debbie again towards the end of what we had before. I know there's new stuff coming out now, but what we had before, the kind of the Debbie saga, which was Debbie was very upfront and said, I'm not interested in dating you. But he still said, give me a chance. I love you. I deserve a chance. I was actually just listening to it. Raptor Bacon just put up that call. So if you want to listen to that, go to Raptor Bacon's channel, promoting Raptor Bacon like he needs any more support. I'm sure everyone knows who Raptor Bacon is. But yeah, please, if you want to listen to some of these with some great visuals behind it, Raptor Bacon is fantastic. Yes, I inquired as if Nikki was aware of this relationship status, because they know what he's like, right? Does she know you're dating, Lorne? Did not receive a definitive answer, so we know what we got. We talked about it, and I said I loved her, and I cared about her, and I gave her my social security number, and I gave her all my trust, so we must be dating, right? That's not the way it works, Lorne. He's never been in an actual relationship. This is pathetic, really. It is. Lorne was apparently upset. Oh, Lorne was upset. Because it isn't like her not to respond like this. How, again, we've heard this time and time and time again. It's not like her to miss my calls. Oh my goodness, she must be with some other guy, And that why he called 38 times, Lorne stated he had heard of a fatal traffic accident. This is funny. A fatal traffic accident. No, not funny that someone died in a traffic accident, okay? That's not funny. It's funny that Lorne thought, here we go. Lorne stated that he heard of a fatal traffic accident in Bar Harbor, that was a black car, and that he believed Nikki knew someone with a black car. So think about the kind of levels of that, the levels that you'd have to go through to kind of to get to that. Is my girlfriend, who's not picking up my calls, knows someone with a black car, and there was a fatal accident in a place that involved a black car. This is hashtag Lorne logic for you. It's like, oh, there was a black car involved. I know someone who knows someone with a black car. Maybe she was in the car crash. Like, how? I don't understand how that works. I don't know how you square that circle. That's crazy. And again, Lorne acknowledged, I'm sure, after this, talked to him like an 8-year-old who was just wronged his friend. He tried to join into a game and they told him, go away, we don't like you. Like an 8-year-old. Lorne acknowledged that he knew. I can imagine this as well. In my mind's eye, I can see it, him like kind of sobbing and crying. And Lorne, lots of people have black cars, right? Oh yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, she doesn't call me. It's same thing. Very likely. So here we go. And it was very likely that most people knew several people with black cars. Yeah, right? Most people know someone with a black car. Wow. Lorne also acknowledged that it would be highly unusual for Nikki to have taken a day trip I think it's a trip to Bar Harbor midweek without any prior planning. So he hears this, something happens in some place that someone's not likely to be, but oh, it must be her. And then, oh wait, once I actually think about it for half a second, not once he thinks about it. Once an adult comes into the room and explains a very simple situation to child Lorne. Hey Lorne, listen, this is put in the situation. Oh well, I guess. Yeah. So this is. I mean, we already know who we're dealing with, but this again, the reason I'm doing this is that again you can see it's dated 2015, 6 years ago, and as far as we know to this day, it's the same behavior. So it's scary to think how many interactions he had with before this. We know the interactions he's had afterwards because the only interactions he's had outside of his late friend Tony Farmer and Alton, whoever that guy is as well, and his family, he doesn't really have any interaction with anyone else outside of the catfish. And I know you listen to the calls and you hear it and say, oh, I've got my best friends, Dan, Emma, and Debbie and Winnie. It's like, oh my goodness. So Lorne is an incredibly lonely person. I think that goes to the root of his problems, but I want to do a video on that actually. Why I think Lorne's loneliness is the root of everything that makes him reprehensible and why he acts the way he acts. I want to do a kind of breakdown of that. So hopefully I can get that up soon. I know my upload schedule has been really sporadic recently, but I want to start getting some regular content out because I first was just listening to the calls and feeling I want to say things. I just never turn on the computer and say them. So I'm sure that's how many people got started, but yeah, this is what I wanted to do. Okay, so moving on to the next bit. At this point, Lorne became quite upset. Oh, so he becomes more upset. Here we go. At this point, Lorne became quite upset, raising his voice and expressing his feelings of resentment that he had to explain his relationships to anyone. Well, Lorne, when you're a convicted sex offender, yes, you do have to explain your relationships. You have to make sure that this person that you're in a relationship is actually consensual. They're going to make sure that they're not underage. They've got to make sure a ton of things, Lorne, because you tried to kidnap and have sex with a 13-year-old when you were in Bowling Green. So I mean, when you were in Nashville, but you traveled to Bowling Green. Which was great. It was so great. I'm so glad you traveled because you got the federal charges. Fantastic. And we know you did this before. So karma, I guess. Lorne also continued to voice his opposition to the sex offender registry requirement. Oh, boo hoo! If you don't want to if you can't do the crime, don't do the time. And this is a slight tangent, I guess. I was on the Code Forum on Facebook, just kind of, and someone raised the question that do you think Lorne will ever get off of probation or off of the RSO? At this point, no. But if he was to, from the beginning, to actually, again, this is redundant saying this, but if he was actually follow the terms of probation, actually pass his sex offender class, there's a possibility, because they don't want to keep you on supervised probation forever. You got to think about it. So he is essentially a drain on the system. We know he's a drain on the system. Putting him in prison is a drain on the system. But probation, even then, he might be. I don't know quite how the monetary where it would lie, but I would imagine that he would be less of a drain if he was maybe on unsupervised probation. But he's on supervised probation, so I would see how it is in the best interest of probation to get him off of probation purely because he would be taking up less resources. Visits, polygraph tests, sex offender class, counselor, therapist, probation, all that kind of thing that surrounds him to keep the public safe from a sex offender. I think a safe Lorne is either he's in prison for the rest of his life or he is reformed. He knows what he did wrong. I'm not convinced to this day he even thinks he did anything wrong. I'm sure if you talk to him today, he would still rail against NBC, which, funny enough, is coming up in this bit, and say, "Oh, it was more," and he would say, everything you've heard him say. But I was saying, well, going back to my original point, my first tangent was that yes, if Lorne had actually taken his sex offender treatment seriously, if he had actually followed the terms of probation, there is a chance by now, or maybe within the next couple of years, he could have been off supervised probation, then maybe off probation, and then maybe in another 20 years, maybe off the sex offender registry if he can prove that he can live by those terms. And so would there be any? But would there have been any barrier to him getting off? Possibly not. He could have just followed it and got off. But we know the way Lorne is, and we know he's never getting off of probation. Hopefully, he never gets off supervised probation. He never gets off the RSO. And in my view, I know it's a bit harsh, but I without anyone else getting hurt or getting involved, he really should be incarcerated for, or at least institutionalized for the rest of his life. I think he has proved time and again he cannot operate by himself. I mean, look what happened. As soon as he was away from his family, he was in Washington State, and then he went back to Maine. And the second he left to go to Kentucky, he didn't know anybody. And within a month, 6 weeks, he was caught up in a sting, trying to solicit sex from a 13-year-old. So we know that he is childlike in more ways than one, and usually not the nice innocent parts of being a child. Although saying child or Lorne in the same session is kind of gross. He is really. Yeah, he needs constant supervision, and I think the only place he's going to get that is a structured facility like an institution or even prison. I think that's the best place for him, for his sake and for society as well. I know it's harsh when I say that, but I just believe it to be true. Yep, so here we go. Lorne and I walk through his status on supervision and the requirements and the duties of my job. So, like a child, Lorne has to be explained to, look, Lorne, you tried to do this. This is what your punishment was. This is why we're doing this. And this is what I have to do, okay? So, once Lorne gets through that, and then Lorne then began, this is the best part, Lorne then began his well-rehearsed tirade against NBC, Chris Hansen, and perverted justice. Now, this is going to get me into trouble, but I'm going to say it anyway. Some parts of the catfishing I felt went a bit too far. And again, I'm not criticizing really anyone involved. As I say, the work that they produced was fantastic. Emma, Dan, Winnie, all those characters, they were excellent. Ramona, we got things out of him that we never thought we would get him to admit to say, and things that he genuinely believes. It wasn't like making him say something he doesn't believe. Well, this is getting to the core of who he is. But one thing I didn't agree with the catfishing was anything that could possibly absolve him of responsibility for his original crime. That's the only thing I had a problem with, really. So sometimes they would say, oh, it was the guy from Perverted Justice that's making me do this. And then Lorne can come back and say, oh, look. And again, of course, it's not true, and it shouldn't absolve him. But we know how Lorne thinks. It only takes one person to say one thing, and then all of a sudden he's kind of off of the hook. Oh yeah, that must be why I did it. I didn't want to do it, so it must be because I didn't get mac and cheese when I gave my siblings $700 worth of work or whatever. Something that to get him off. So I think as it went on, and to be fair, I think that was mostly due to the early days of the catfishing. They didn't know what they could get away with and what they couldn't, so they kind of had to have like a fallback. Kind of like a safety plan, like, okay, if he clocks into this, we can just say, oh, this, and then he'll be right back on the hook again. And I think that became less and less as things goes on. But I think this really takes away my criticism of that, because it looks like even before there was any involvement from the community, he was going against NBC, Chris Hansen, and Perverted Justice. So this is something that he had come up with himself. It's not something that the community had put into his mind. This is something that he had come up with before anyone was even in contact with him. So my criticism might be unfair to say that, hey, look, this is what he was going, and they're just like feeding into that, and that might be fine. But I would say the catfishing is fine. But yeah, well, that's the kind of point I would have on that. So moving on from here. So attempts to have Lorne acknowledge his culpability and his contact were not successful. Of course not, because we know. I never wanted to go there. It was raining. I left Bud at home, and I was going to turn around in the median, but there's no exit to get off from Bowling Green to Nashville. It's every excuse under the book. I got mac and cheese from my kid from my siblings. It's never his fault. And another thing you notice when he's on the calls is that it's always everyone else's fault, and it's never his fault. The doctor, you put him there. That's why I react the way I do, because of you put him there. That makes me react the way I do. So it's your fault. I was listening to him. Oh, you took me away from Winnie when he's talking to Debbie about the relationship status. It's like, you took me away from Winnie. Not that you left Lorne. She took you away from Winnie, and it was completely out of your hands. And things always happen to Lorne. He never does anything. He never does anything. It's just he just gets swept along the tide, and everything happens to him, and nothing he ever does is anything as a result from him. He has no agency. Great Lorne. So, but I was able to de-escalate him to an appropriate level. So there you go. So they calmed the baby down. They put the pacifier in his mouth, and they calmed him down. But he will. I think as long as he lives, and going back, and again, this is another video I want to do is about why Lorne won't admit what he did, is because I think if he did to himself, the reason he doesn't is a survival mechanism, and I mean that in like the literal sense, that if he was ever really forced to face up to what he did, I don't want to go too dark in this. I just want to stick to this for now. But I think you get where I'm going with that. So on one level I understand it. On another level, he needs to really own up to what he did. And the thing is, you can't even pay lip service to it. That's it. You know, it's one thing to think a lie. It's another thing to speak a lie. But I think where Lorne is, he's like writing lies, so it becomes like ingrained in him. So I think he's starting to believe it. If you lie to yourself so much and you write the lies down, it's you'll kind of get to a point where it is it's so ingrained that you start to believe the lie. And so again, there's something I want to expand on in another topic. How long are we going? About 30 minutes. So I'm going to wrap this up. There's not too much left of this, so I'll wrap this up. I don't want to keep it going too long. Lorne and I discussed further what his ideals of a healthy and respectful relationships look like, which led to him revisiting his family issues and way he's been wronged by See, I didn't actually read ahead of this. I listened to people reading it, but I hadn't read ahead. And again, look who I said, oh, my family members treated me wrong. It's everything happens to him. Lorne also provided me with a copy of chapter 1 of his latest book, which appears to be a manifesto railing against the justice system. You know, I hope that comes out someday. I would love to read that. Not for the spelling mistake and grammatical errors and was and weren't being used incorrectly, but just what he thinks of the justice system. Is it perfect? No, not by a long shot. It's probably the best system humanity has so far. But Lorne, trust me, if there was a case in point of the justice system working as intended, you are it. Trust me, you are it. You are exactly case in point. If you were to say the shining beacon of hill, the justice system kind of works. I guess it's you. Well, I guess it doesn't work because if it's up to me, you'd be in prison for the rest of your life. But other than that, there's nothing. This appears to be a setback in Lorne's progress through treatment. So again, if you hear the criticism that catfishing is setting him back, or like maybe he would have passed his sex offender class if it wasn't for the catfishers, no, because you can see way before anyone is in contact with him. You can see here, Lorne set back Lorne's progress through treatment. At the very least, a lack of any progress over the last year. So he set himself back because he got into a relationship and it didn't go the way he envisioned it in his mind, with a white picket fence and 2.5 children, whatever the hell it is. And because it's not his ideal white picket fence life, he screams, he abuses, he gaslights, he manipulates. He's just an all-round kind of not a very nice person. And I think, I'm so good. I know he will never have a relationship purely because of the way he is. No one would need to even without the sex offender registry, he would never have a relationship because of the way he is. He is honestly, he's not a nice piece of work. Here we go. Forwarded this information to treatment providers as well. So this is all we have. There's more. There's more. So maybe I'll go through some more of these documents. There's some other, I believe, violation, non-compliance of probation things to go through here. But maybe we'll leave that for another time. But yes, you can kind of see here. Lorne has been behaving in the same way for a long time. So to say that it is only because of the community's involvement and contact with Lorne that he is the way he is, that is patently wrong. And maybe you can point him to this video. If anyone says that, just say point him to this video. Say, hey, look, Sting's got this video. Take a listen to this. This is why you're wrong, and this is why the catfishing really had nothing to do with his demeanor. He was always this way. He has always been this way. And as far as we know, he will always continue to be this way, judged on this new content we have coming out now is coming out, and it's very juicy. He talks to a robot. He has a new friend called Lamondre. It's fantastic. I believe Wine Lover and Reborn are doing some more of those streams on their channel, so check those out if you want to see the new stuff. If by chance you haven't yet, I will direct you to them. And I also believe Wine Lover has a link to where you can download all this stuff as well, so you can take a look for yourself and make your own videos. I believe she granted the community permission to do that, so which is why I'm doing this. Yep. So thank you for listening, guys. If anyone is listening, or if you're not, thank you for listening to me in the future. And if I'm not listening in the future, this is for prosperity for YouTube, I guess. This is for the algorithm. So, yep. So thank you very much,